This program was made possible by the Whitten Newman Foundation, Pros for Vets,
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Fighting for you.
Fighting for you.
Because you fought for us.
Because you fought for us.
the Toby Keith Foundation, and FATE, Fighting Addiction Through Education, and the Chesapeake Energy Corporation.
February 24th of 08, our life, it's like freeze frame. I mean, we're there forever. I mean, you move on, but you just can't get away from that date.
February 24th. Every year it's different, but it's the same. We go out to the cemetery. We go out for Chinese food because Michael loved Chinese food. The next year, I mean, 3 or 4 of the guys were here. This year Ryan's here. Ryan gets here once a year. He drives 26 hours straight through to be with us this week.
I talk to her more than I talk to my family. So, it's, she's Mama Ange.
They became my family and my sons, and I don't even remember how they started calling me Mama Ange, but they do. I had a lieutenant colonel of the battalion call me Mama Ange. It was like, sir, you're older than me. You don't get to call me that.
We remember him for the guy who was like, who would pick us up while we were in the dumps, and I don't think I've ever seen that man depressed. Ever. There was not a day that goes by that he wasn't smiling from ear to ear.
He wrote me from Fort Benning, Georgia. I'm glad I wrote, and I'm glad he wrote back. And he thanked me for the letter. I'm doing great. I love this job. I feel like I have matured and look at things differently. And then he says that I'm training because in a few months I go to Afghanistan. He writes that some people think I'm crazy for joining, stupid, or just flat out against me. But I'm doing this for them, my family, you, everyone in America, to protect us. People just don't understand. As an educator, as somebody who reads about the great heroes of the past, I want to read about kids like Michael. I want my kids to read about them. I agree the word hero is thrown out a lot, but I believe that the kids that Michael served with, they're heroes. They're all heroes. And oftentimes we forget about that.
Two young men, pretty young, probably, I want to say 19 or 20, come over and they said, Mrs. Wood or Mrs. Vincent, can we talk to you for a minute? We have something we want to tell you about Ryan. He says, we had so much respect for Sergeant Wood, and we want to tell you why. We want to tell you something that he did for us, and was our sergeant. And so it was the first time that they had gotten in the Bradley, and they got back and they were a dismount, which means, when that ramp comes down, they're going to have to get off. Ryan is the commander, so he doesn't have to dismount. He stays with the Bradley and gives the orders. And he said, we were so scared. He said, I had actually started to cry. I was so embarrassed and so ashamed because here I'm a man and I'm supposed to be an infantry soldier. And Sergeant Wood came over to me and he said, son, are you crying? And he said, yes. He said, Sergeant Wood, I am. He said, Ryan put his hand on my shoulder and said, that's okay. He said, that's what's going to keep you alive. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll show you how it's done. He put somebody else in charge and he geared up. Sergeant Wood didn't have to do that. And he said, from that moment on, we always felt safe with him. And we respected him so much because he didn't make us feel less of a man for being afraid. The only thing I miss so much is, being able to tell him, wow, that was so awesome. I mean, what a wonderful thing to do for another human being. I don't want to be a gold star parent. but I am. So where do you go from there? You buck up and you start thinking about, as odd as this sounds, not what's wrong with this picture, but what's right with this picture. Ryan did what he wanted to do. He did it honorably. He did it with integrity. He changed lives. He was part of something that was very big and not just about him.
David was our only child. Was not married. No children. So, what we felt like was our future died that day. He wrote us a letter that we received exactly 1 month after he was killed in case something happened to him, where he said, I'm in a better place and you've got to go on. It's not anybody's fault. I made this choice freely and you supported me, and that gave me strength. You're the best parents that a person could ever have, and I hope in my 26 years I brought you joy. Love your son.
David, like, he was so passionate about everything. He loved life. I mean,
Ryan did what he wanted to do. He did it honorably. He did it with integrity. He changed lives. He was part of something that was very big and not just about him. You know, one of the biggest fears we have as parents is losing our children. But then after something happens, our biggest fear is that someone will forget that they lived. That's why we keep talking about them. That's why we keep telling their stories, because we want people to know that they lived and they made a difference.
If you want to honor my son Bass, you want to memorialize my son, you take care of the men, his brothers, and their families that are still serving, and the ones that come home, especially the wounded. That's how you honor my son.
I got back, got out of the Marine Corps, started going to college, and my wife was doing a semester of study abroad over in France. So I went over there, and while I was there, I went to Normandy. I sat there because, you know, I wasn't in World War II, but I sat there and thought about all the people that were there. All the ones like Vinny, or Krieger, or anybody else. But I sat there and cried.
before you were just proud to be an American, but now whenever I look at our flag, I focus in on the red stripes. That represents our fallen.
These men stand in line with thousands upon thousands of others who willingly gave their life for those they did not know. They join a hallowed roll of warriors sacrificed for liberty. Years will pass. Wars will come and go. Others will join their ranks as fallen, and our battle will still remain. Our battle to remember, to honor, to recognize the debt that we owe. What is our charge? What is our responsibility, those who have heard their stories? On behalf of a grateful nation, we will remember, and we will never forget. our heroes, our loved ones, our Oklahoma's fallen. For a DVD copy of this program, please go to www.prosforvets.org and find additional stories of our fallen, as well as information about how you can get involved with honoring our veterans. All proceeds will go to fight for those who fought for us. This program was made possible by the Whitten Newman Foundation, Pros for Vets,
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Pros for Vets.
Fighting for you.
Fighting for you.
Because you fought for us.
Because you fought for us.
the Toby Keith Foundation, and Fate, Fighting Addiction Through Education, and the Chesapeake Energy Corporation.